Welcome back, guys. In this question, we have to simplify and state restrictions. So I got 7x over 5x squared minus 125 plus 4 over 3x plus 15 divided by 2x over x squared plus 8x plus 15. So notice here we're dealing with a mix of operations. We got addition, but then we have division here. So using BEDMAS, we're going to have to do the division first, and then whatever we get there, we would add to this rational expression. So first thing you always want to do when you get something like this is factor everything. So notice here, numerator can't factor, but 5x squared minus 125, what does that factor to? Well, if we do it on the side here, notice how we could take out a 5 from both of these. That's the first thing you always check. Can you take something out from all the terms? And then x squared minus 25, that is a difference of squares. X plus 5, x minus 5. So 5x squared minus 125, that factors to 5 bracket x plus 5, x minus 5. Then we're going to be adding 4 over, from here, we could factor out a 3. We'd be left with x plus 5. And then we would be dividing by 2x all over x squared plus 8x plus 15. When you take that, do decomposition on the side, you would end up with x plus 3, x plus 5. All right, and now we factored everything. What's the second step? We get the restrictions before simplifying. So first thing, let's look at these. X plus 5, x minus 5. Notice that from these two, x cannot equal plus or minus 5. Actually takes care of this restriction and that restriction as well, right? Because if x is either plus or minus 5, denominator here would be 0. Here, if x is negative 5, denominator would be 0. And here, if it's negative 5, it would be 0 as well. Okay, so we took care of this, took care of that, took care of that. The constants don't give us any restrictions. We got this x plus 3 here, so that means x cannot equal negative 3. And then since we're dividing, we also have to look at the numerator, right? If this was multiplying, then those would just be the restrictions. We would just be looking at all the denominators. But since this is dividing, for this rational expression, we got to look at the numerator and the denominator. So here, numerator, notice x cannot equal 0. Because if x is 0, this whole thing is 0, right? 0 divided by a number is 0. But we can't be dividing by 0. That would be undefined. So those are your 4 restrictions right there. Plus or minus 5, negative 3, and 0. And then from here, now we just simplify. So 7x over 5 bracket x plus 5, x minus 5 plus 4 over 3 bracket x plus 5. Here we flip this, so this would be times x plus 3, x plus 5, all over 2x, like that. And now we could simplify. So we have to multiply these two first. So x plus 5, those cancel out. Notice that this 2 and this 4, there would be a 2 left up top. So what would we be left with here? We'd have 7x, 5 bracket x plus 5, x minus 5, plus, if we multiply all of this, we'd have 2 bracket x plus 3, all over 3 times x, right? I believe so. Yeah, that looks correct. So now we have to add these two. And adding these two is actually going to be a bit of a pain. So let's continue it up here. What is the common denominator between these two going to be? Well, between the 3 and the 5, what's the lowest common denominator? 15. So 15 would be in front. And then x plus 5, x minus 5, and x, those are all different factors. So they're all going to be in the denominator. All right, so how do we take this denominator and get to that one? Well, we'd have to multiply the 5 by 3, and we'd have to multiply all of this by x as well, meaning we have to multiply the top by x. So here we'd have 20, or let's just actually rewrite it first. So 7x times 3x. And then over here, we would have to multiply this denominator by this one, right? We'd have to multiply the 3 by 5, and then x plus 5, x minus 5. All right, and actually that means the top we have to multiply by 5. And then instead of writing x plus 5, x minus 5, I'm just going to write x squared minus 25. Because once we expand everything, I feel like that's going to be a lot easier than doing FOIL with 3 brackets. Because this is a difference of squares, I feel like it's just easier to have 2 terms. So x squared minus 25, that's the same as x plus 5 times x minus 5. But you don't have to do that. You could put all 3 brackets, but then you're going to have to be multiplying the x plus 3 times x plus 5 times x minus 5. Just starts getting a little bit annoying. So when we multiply these two, 5 times 2 is 10, and there's an addition here, so this would be 10 bracket x plus 3 x squared minus 25. And then from here, it's just simplifying. So 7x times 3x, 21x squared, plus 10 bracket, here x times x squared is x cubed, minus 25x, plus 3x squared, minus 75. It's going to be all over that same denominator of 15x, x plus 5x minus 5. And then what you want to do is you want to distribute that 10 inside the bracket, so all of these would get multiplied by 10, and then you just collect like terms. So we'd have 10x cubed in front. There's no other like term, there's no other x cubed here. Then 21x squared plus 30x squared, that would give us 51x squared. And then 10 times negative 25x, that would give us minus 250x. And then 10 times negative 75 would give us minus 750. And this would be all over 15x, x plus 5, x minus 5. Right, so that there is the answer. And then you would check if you could factor 10x cubed plus 51x squared minus 250x minus 750. You could try by grouping. But notice when we factor out an x squared from these two, and then from these two we could take out a negative 250, the 2 remaining brackets would be different. You would have 10x plus 51, and here you would have x plus 3. So you can't factor those 2 brackets. So you can't really factor this any further. So this is what it simplifies to, and those are your restrictions.